See, this is what I really need every single year. This is what I should have started doing last year. Or at least like during the summer. But, hey, better late than never. Yeah. Alright, time's up. Man, if only this could last longer. I mean, to be honest, I could literally just like sit here for all day and just like, watch the sky, watch everything, and watch how beautiful spring is, and just listen to these calm sounds. Listen to how comforting spring is. And also the perfect weather though. Like, both spring and fall have the most perfect weather. It's not too hot, but it's also not too cold, which is exactly how I feel right now. I know, I mean, like, I'm literally wearing shorts and also a long sleeve. Like, how does that even work? But like I said, I could have done this all day if I wanted to, but I still want to give you guys the things that you deserve, such as this episode of National Geographic, where you can tell I'm laying in the grass. And, yeah, you can tell that obviously grass is green, so St. Patrick's Day is today. It's a good thing I'm in here. Nobody can try to pinch me, no matter what. Yeah, but I mean, it's not like you're barely wearing any green. Yes, I am. I'm right here. Well, not really that much on clothes. Well, I'm still in the grass, so if I just like cover myself in grass, then there's no way like you could probably pinch me. Actually, hold up. You're not wearing any green either. No, I'm out of here. See, maybe if I could just like take it easy like this and then just talk, this way while still being able to relax, giving information, that would probably work as well too. I mean, come on, it's not like anybody's gonna notice any difference. Well, maybe besides the difference that I'm actually just like being lazy. But, at the same time, I'm also trying to be relaxed since it's the perfect time of weather. So, actually, yeah, that would actually work. Hold up. Alright, nature viewers, you're gonna see me talk like this so that way not only can I still feel relaxed, but also just like go like this from time to time, but also so that way I can make you jealous and give you a perfect angle of what I'm trying to do. Get the tall grass out of the way. Yeah, there we go, that should probably work. So, in case if you don't know what today is, which, I probably would be surprised. Actually, no, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't. But today is actually St. Patrick's Day, which is not just a holiday where everybody just has to wear green for no reason. In case if you're actually really young, and if you aren't young, like around teen years or something, and you don't know this stuff, then I'm shocked that your parents haven't told you this by now. But St. Patrick's Day is not just about wearing green. It's a religious and cultural holiday about the memorial death, remembering the death of St. Patrick, who was the patron saint of Ireland, and the arrival of Christianity as well in Ireland. And because St. Patrick himself was part of Ireland, then it only makes sense that, of course, this is an Irish culture celebration, which is how the wearing green thing actually got involved. So yeah, you could tell that, it's not just because they just chose a random color to wear because, green sticks out the most, even though that it kind of does, like, in grass or, like, anything that's green. But no, it's actually because it's part of Irish culture. So, yeah. Although something that you may actually not know, which is kind of funny, when I first thought about this, I didn't actually think it was true, but apparently it is. But despite being an Irish culture celebrated holiday, St. Patrick wasn't actually Irish at all. Yeah, but he was actually born Britain in, like, around probably, like, Scotland or something, but, nowhere near, like, Ireland at all. And, the funny part also about this is not only was St. Patrick not Irish, but neither was his parents. His parents were both Roman, which is kind of a weird tie-up, though, seeing that. So, because St. Patrick wasn't born in Ireland and was actually born in Britain, then obviously, even though everybody is expected to wear green, he didn't. In fact, he wore blue. Lots of blue robes, which is why a lot of artwork actually features him. Like, that's why, to this day, probably, I mean, I haven't seen it myself, but yeah, there's a lot of artwork out there that does feature St. Patrick wearing blue robes, which actually, kind of up to his popularity, because if he's the one person that has a holiday about himself, and everybody wears green, but he's the only person that didn't wear blue, then that's kind of what stands out from him. And if that wasn't enough, that he was actually not born in Ireland, he was born in Britain, he did not wear green, St. Patrick is not a saint. While, he was given the title in popular lore, he never was officially canonized as a saint. He was actually recognized, but many still kind of recognize his contributions to Catholic Church, and he kind of remains more of a spiritual figure more than an actual saint himself. So, yeah, but I mean, like I said, these things are what made him stick out the most. And, slavery actually was the main thing that brought St. Patrick to Ireland in the first place. Because while St. Patrick was young, he was kidnapped a lot by a pirate raiding party and was sold into slavery. And he had to herd sheep for many years, but eventually he was able to flee into a monastery in England. And while over there, he became a devout follower of the Christianity and, jeez, oh my god, just win. And he ordained a bishop, and after that he returned to Ireland as a missionary. So yeah, he actually wanted to make sure that he fought his way out of... Well, okay, I'm sorry, I cannot record in this win. But yeah, while he was young, he was kidnapped by a pirate raiding party and was sold into slavery in Ireland. And as a slave, he looked after and herded sheep for many years. But eventually he was able to flee to a monastery in England. And while over there, he became a devout follower of Christianity and was able to ordain a bishop, after which he was able to return to Ireland as a missionary. So, yeah, that's kind of a crazy thing to kind of know about that. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm gonna keep saying this, but a lot of things about St. Patrick aren't really actually true, which is what makes him stick out the most about this. Okay, but hold on, let's stop real quick and take a look at this. Look at this wind. Oh my god. Whoa. Okay, well, yeah, I can see exactly why I probably... Oh shoot. If this picks up anymore, I might just get blown away. Whoa, 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 whoa! Oh my god, okay, you see that over there? You see those clouds? That is rain. Yeah, that's coming towards me. Okay, hold up, we gotta finish this somewhere else. Wait, alright, hold up, turn the camera off. Alright, that looks better. Okay, this is the best that I've got, so this is as accurate as it's gonna get. But yeah, anyways, back to what I was saying. Most of these things that I'm telling you right now are basically what St. Patrick was able to do for Ireland itself, because it literally made St. Patrick's Day, obviously, what it is right now. Even despite him, not being a saint, not wearing green at all, and in fact wearing another color more, and not even being born in Ireland, or being at least somewhat Irish, and apparently not Roman either, despite him having Roman parents. But yeah, anyways, but also another cool thing is that the shamrock, yes, the four-leaf clover, or, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm gonna just say it as a four-leaf clover, which, by the way, I never found one of those, so, that's gotta suck for me. The shamrock, which is an Irish symbol, of course, is said to actually be popularized by St. Patrick himself. Because you see, the way the story goes is that St. Patrick supposedly used the iconic three-leaf clover, or shamrock. Yeah, I know I actually said four-leaf earlier, but obviously I said, I had to actually be extra sure, so... it actually did turn out to be the four-leaf, not the three-leaf. But either way, it's still a clover, so who's really gonna sue me on that? He used the iconic three-leaf shamrock, or clover, whatever you want to call it, to explain the Holy Trinity, while preaching that each section of the leaf, each one of the three leaves, represents the Holy Spirit, the Father, and the Son. Or actually, I shouldn't say that like that. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Which is a kind of cool thing, because I guess it kind of could explain why we don't really see, we don't see four-leaf clovers at all, almost like in the world, and it's literally impossible to find them, and why we see three-leaf clovers, and sometimes six? I don't really know, but yeah, usually we see only three-leaf clovers, because it's mostly just meant to symbolize the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Since he was, in fact, part of Christianity, as we mentioned earlier. So, that's a cool thing, though, because he wants to bring Christianity around other places as well, just to show that that it is great to believe in God. And it wasn't just a symbol for those three, it was also a symbol that showed that anybody could be one of the three different spiritual entities, or entities. No, entitled-lies. I don't know, I could be saying that wrong. But yeah, and yet, all part of the same whole, they are. But it also symbolized more than those three. In fact, it also did symbolize that anybody can be a part of those three entitlings or whatever. But in the end, they still are part of the same whole. So it still shows that, although that the shamrock or clover, whatever you want to call it again, is in fact representing the three of them, it also shows that you can be one of those three. You can be just like a clover or shamrock. So that's kind of a little bit cool to think about, although, when I think about it, it kind of sounds weird in my head, but I'm pretty sure that anybody who gets it out there will find it really great and interesting. And finally, I'm saving the best for last, or I guess the craziest for last, depending on which way you think of it. But we've already established that St. Patrick was way different than anybody out of all of Ireland, even though that he brought St. Patrick's Day to us. He was not Irish, he was not born in Ireland, he did not wear green, and he wasn't even a saint. So what more could we possibly have gotten out of this man? Well, Patrick. The name Patrick wasn't even his name. Yes, you're hearing me correctly, and I'm also hearing myself correctly too. Because when I'm saying this, it kind of feels like I'm actually tweaking right now. But it is in fact true that Patrick was not St. Patrick's real name. And in fact, his real name was actually Maewyn Sucat. Which, obviously sounds like something that you would never expect from, people who actually lie about their names. Or, are given a different name. Or even rappers when, they have different names though. Take Akon's name for example though. If you put in Akon's real name, you'll find that there's 9 names put into there. How does that even work? That's besides the point, but yes, Maewyn Sucat was St. Patrick's real name, and it wasn't until he became a priest, because, he was bringing Christianity into Ireland, that he adopted the name Patrick after Patricius, which, relates to the Latin root meaning father, as, he already explained that the shamrock means Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And honestly, St. Patrick, even though that he wasn't a saint either though, putting those two words together, or two names together, kind of actually sounds like it is a real person. It actually kind of sounds like somebody who is legendary and does carry on his legend, and we carry on his legend today as we celebrate. Well, okay, actually, to be real with you, today is actually not St. Patrick's Day, as I'm recording this though, because, this was recorded on 2 separate days, but, if you're watching this a year later and it's St. Patrick's Day 2026, then yeah, this is the reason. Now you know exactly why we're celebrating this stuff and the whole history behind why we're celebrating it, mostly dedicating it to this one man who wasn't even part of Irish at all and is not related to it at all, but he did something. He did the impossible. He did something that nobody would have ever expected. It's kind of like saying that somebody changed. Let's see, what word do I want to use? It's kind of like if somebody changed Mexico and they were Japanese. Okay, that kind of sounds weird. But yeah, I hope you found this really interesting for what I've been able to give to you. And if you're jealous from the way from this perspective that you're seeing, then sorry, but not sorry at all, because this is very relaxing. This is exactly how I like spring to be at all times. But yeah, anyways, that's really going to wrap up today's episode of National Geographic. And here, let me take this camera off for a quick second. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of National Geographic. This was very enjoyable to make with the environment that you see me in right now. And don't worry, we will be posting, or I will be posting, more National Geographic episodes, in case if you, seen that we haven't been really. But, come on, 2 weeks for new episodes, that's not too bad. It could be worse. It could have been like before, 2 months. That's just. Anyways, yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. I hope you're celebrating that. And if you're not, then, well, I hope you found this, somewhat entertaining, because that's what we try to do on these episodes. And yeah, subscribe to National Geographic Official, our channel, so we can help it grow more, because, we've been seeing that it hasn't been recently. And I can't tell whether or not, it's because we're posting cringy content or we're not posting at all. But like I said, I can't really tell the difference. And also follow our TikTok too, because, same aspects with that. And with that said, I have no words to say. I suck at endings. And yeah, like and subscribe for more awesome content. And we'll see you guys next time, okay? Well, see y'all later.